Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love. I'm in Toronto.
Welcome to episode 1055 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. StickerU.com. Create custom stickers, labels, tattoos, and decals for your home and your business. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Doer, the world's most comfortable pants and shorts. Save 15% with the promo code TMDS. Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. And Canna Cabana, the lowest prices on cannabis. Guaranteed. Over 100 stores across the country. Learn more at cannacabana.com. Today, making their Toronto Mic debuts from Martha and the Muffins, Martha Johnson and Mark Gane. Welcome.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you doing?
What an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for making the trek here to Southern Etobicoke. But this is your old stomping grounds, right, Mark?
Pretty close, yeah. Both of us grew up in the West End, and I originally around Islington, just north of here, and then a bit further east around Bloor and Royal York.
Yeah, shout out to Etobicoke. And whereabouts do you call home these days?
We crossed into the dark world and went to Riverdale in the East End many years ago.
The Danforth area, Danforth and Pate.
And what's better, east of Yonge or west of Yonge, or they both got their own pros and cons?
I think they both have their pros and cons, but I think getting across town is what really bothers me.
Right, no, so you did it today.
Yeah.
So again, I appreciate it. Look, it's not for nothing because, yeah, we're going to have a great chat. And I got some great jams, and I can't wait to talk about the new project. But you're going to leave here with... it's a personal question. Do you live together?
Yes.
Okay, you never know these days.
We have a child and a grandchild together.
Oh,
so
well,
I think it's pretty solid.
Well, you'd be surprised, Mark.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised. You're taking home a frozen lasagna. So this box, which is empty right now, when you leave today, it'll be full of delicious Palma pasta. They sent over lasagna for you.
That's
wow,
great.
okay, thank you.
Don't have to think about dinner.
Yeah.
Seriously, we all have leftovers, enough for the whole family. And just since I'm giving you gifts, and then we'll, shout out more sponsors later, but Great Lakes Brewery, they sent over some fresh craft beer for you. And I just want to shout out Great Lakes because yesterday I made my first appearance at their new GLB brew pub, which is at Lower Jarvis and Queens Quay. And it's amazing. I was there last night having drinks with a couple of friends, and it was fantastic. So thank you, Great Lakes.
Wonderful.
All right, let's start with this name, Martha and the Muffins. Who wants to tackle the origin of the band, and in particular, I want to know where that name comes from. Where does Martha and the Muffins come from?
Okay, Martha's looking at me.
It's
well,
yours. You go first.
Mark was in the band officially before me. So.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So give me the origin story then, Mark. Like how does, and I mean, there's multiple Marthas at some point, but please tell me how this band comes to be.
Okay, well, we have to go back to 1825.
Yeah, just about.
That's old wave, not new wave.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, I was going to the Ontario College of Art downtown Toronto.
Yeah, sorry, I okay, we're back. Yeah, that's a very rare technical mishap here. Obviously, very nervous. I got Martha and the Muffins here, but you repeat that whole sentence again.
Okay, let's go back again. So back in the early 70s, I was going to the Ontario College of Art in downtown Toronto, and a fellow student of mine asked me if I would join a band. And at that time, there were all these bands joining, and it was very much centered in some respects around the art college, and the Beverly Tavern was on Queen Street East, and there was a whole scene kind of being born there.
West, actually.
What?
Used to,
Yeah, Queen
Street West.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Queen Street West. Yeah, okay.
She's going to keep you in line, Mike.
That's right, yeah. So we got together, and David Miller, who was this student friend of mine, knew Martha Johnson because he had played in bands with her. And so Martha joined shortly thereafter. And over the summer of 77, we got my brother on drums. And
Tim.
Yeah, Tim. And Carl Finkel was another Thornhill person who emigrated down and was playing in bands. And that was the beginning of the band. And we did our first gig October 77 at the Ontario College of Art Halloween dance. Wow. So all that summer, that previous summer, we'd been arguing about names, and I have a list of the names, and everybody came in, and nobody liked anyone else's names.
Because it was Mark and the Muffins.
No, that didn't come up. Yeah, it was like, here's a great one, guys.
The Wee Wees from Paris was one of them.
Yeah, Wee Wees from Paris.
What would you say to that?
Yeah, what would you say to that?
That didn't make the cut.
And so this poster had to be made for this Halloween dance, and we went, okay, how about, I think it was actually David Clarkston, who was in the Diodes, who briefly jammed with us, said, well, why don't you call it the Muffins? Because he said there's sort of like a feminist thing going on here. And we went, it was sort of like the antithesis of all the hardcore punk names, which we kind of enjoyed working against that.
Right.
And it was decided that Martha's name should go in front of that. And so that went on the poster, and we went, okay, well, we'll change it. And it never happened. It stuck with us for various reasons.
Do you know how many bands have this story where it's, okay, let's use this name for now, and then we'll come up with something better? And no, it just sticks.
Yeah.
We got some publicity, and that we said we can't change it now. We've been in the newspaper.
Yeah, I got in the we got a write-up from the Toronto Star. I think
who wrote it?
Peter Goddard.
Okay, I was going to say the late, great Peter Goddard.
Yeah.
Do you have any words to say about Peter, who we lost earlier this year?
Well, he was a cornerstone of, the music scene as a writer. And, he certainly promoted a lot of that stuff early on. And, of course, the Toronto Star was a big paper. So if you got an article written by Peter, you knew a lot of people were going to hear about it. And probably because of people like him, the scene kind of expanded fairly rapidly from this, like, nobody knew about it.
Right.
To all these people starting to come down to Queen Street West and checking out these bands.
Now, time-wise, okay, so from the start of the band to the release of Echo Beach, how much time are we talking about there?
A couple of years, right?
A couple of years.
Yeah, because we did another Halloween dance a year later in 78, and we actually have footage on our YouTube site of that. And then I think it was something like 78. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. We were in the studio in 79
in
England.
Okay.
So less than a year. Less than a year, for sure.
Throughout this conversation, I have questions from FOTMs. FOTMs are friends of Toronto Mike, and they very excitedly send in questions. So Lisa's question about your name origin is Blueberry or Bran? Because Lisa wants to know, what's your favorite muffin?
Ooh.
Blueberry.
Yeah, I'd have to go for
They're good
blueberry.
for you, too.
Yeah, blueberry's better for you than my favorite, which is Raisin Bran, which is probably just like eating a cupcake. There's probably no nutritional value, probably. But
you could get it tested, Mike. Just.
Oh, do you know a scientist I could talk to? Craig M. says, they had a very unique style of music. Where did that come from, and who were some of their influences? So maybe at this point, as we got your band started up in 1977, like, what are the bands that are influencing your sound?
Well, I think everybody in the band had different influences, which was the reason we had a unique sound, because everybody brought something to the table.
Right.
But I think... For generally, I think Mark and I particularly were into Roxy Music, who we ended up opening for in England.
Wow.
And Scotland, and the B-52s. But there was also sorts of jazz and avant-garde kind of influences. There's Motown. Some of us were really into Motown. What else, Mark?
Well, we grew up, in that great era when there was so many fantastic things happening. But particular to that time, Roxy Music was a big one for me. King Crimson,
right?
And we were like, Toronto was like at the intersection of London and New York, right? So we were getting, all the bands like from the Beatles onwards from London, and then that whole scene was happening in New York. And the art college had a trip every March down to New York. So you get on the bus and it'd be, I don't know, like an 8-hour drive, maybe longer. You'd get there and you would see, all these early punk new wave bands, Laurie Anderson, all the like avant-garde, video artists, and you come back to Toronto with all these ideas and everything. So New York had a huge influence because there were so many bands that were centered around OCA, and that was a big deal. And then, as Martha said, like our original bass player Carl, he was like into I think Motown and country music, and Andy, our sax player, was completely into freeform jazz and Ornette Coleman and all those people. Wow. So when the band expanded to 6 people with another Martha, and
you can never have enough Marthas in a band.
Indeed. So there was another Martha, and Andy joined about 8 months after the band started. So those 6 people had very, very eclectic tastes. Wow. And, you would bring in a song, and maybe you would have some arrangement ideas, but basically everybody brought their influences. So, that was definitely the early Muffins sound, was 6 people with very widely dispersed influences.
Now, Adrian says, what were their feelings toward the local record companies when they first started out? By the way, he chimes in, you just alluded to this, but they signed their deal in England. So let's talk about that. I mean, you're the first Canadian band to sign to a UK label, and you record your debut in England. So, what is it, how did that come to be?
I don't think we were really looking for a deal at that point. It sort of fell in our laps because our sax player sent a cassette that we had made, a demo cassette, to Interview magazine in New York, to Glenn O'Brien, who had a music column, and he wrote us up, and Virgin became aware of us, and we ended up signing with Virgin in the UK.
It was very one of those complete, luck things where Andy sent this cassette, and Glenn O'Brien, and Interview magazine was Andy Warhol's magazine, right? So it was like super groovy, and Glenn O'Brien was the guy. And he wrote back, he sent a postcard and said, "Love this tape. Robert Fripp does too," because he was there. And at the time he was listening to it, an A&R guy from Virgin UK, Dave Fudger, was there. And so Glenn O'Brien helped us arrange our first out-of-Toronto gig at Hurrah in New York City. Wow. And these people showed up. And so, Robert Fripp was one of my, and continues to be one of my guitar heroes. Wow. And he's sitting there 20 feet off the stage, with this Robert Fripp grimace, hands folded, and I'm going, I'm dying up here, man. This is scary. But that led to, getting signed to Virgin within a short period of time, and being flown over to the Manor.
The Manor studio in England.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I have to say, I was a big Mike Oldfield fan, and he did an album, I think the second one after Tubular Bells, called Hergest Ridge. And on that album, somewhere on the album cover artwork, was a picture of the Manor with the 3 Russian wolfhounds. Mm-hmm. Okay. And when we arrived there they were. And I can't remember all their names. It was Lightning. Lightning was the dad, it was the mother and the kid. And the Manor had this huge pond in front of it, like farmland. And these dogs would go galloping around that field like horses. It was great.
Unlike the pool that had the go-karts that the Sex Pistols had driven into the pool.
Yeah, that's right. We couldn't use the pool that year.
It was so rock and roll.
See, now this is punk right here. Wow. Okay, riding the golf carts into the pool is as punk as it gets. Okay, I got to play a song. So, we're going to play a bit and then I'll fade it down because we have questions about this jam. I don't know if you've heard this song before, but if I don't play it now, the people listening are going to be like, where is it? So...
Oh, I've heard it.
You've heard it? You know this one, right?
Yep.
Rings a bell.
Still sounds great in the cans, by the way.
the sun go down. On Echo Beach, I watch the sun go down. From 9 to 5 I have to spend my time at work. My job is very boring, I'm an office clerk. The only thing that helps me pass the time away is knowing I'll be back at Echo Beach someday.
Okay, straight up, I'm looking in your eyes, Martha, Mark. When you hear this right now in the headphones, what are your feelings? Like from the heart, what are you thinking when you listen to yourselves here?
I think about the circumstances that were happening when we recorded it. It takes me back to recording it and how everything changed after that song came out in so many ways.
Well, it's so iconic. I'll just say, as a mere listener and of music and a pop culture absorber, on one note, like, you're back and it's magic. It's a time machine and it's so beautiful. And this song means so much to so many people. And I just wonder if you're self-aware of what this song means to the universe.
Yeah, I mean, it changed our lives, and I think it impacted a lot of people's lives too. Because that summer of 1980, people were really having fun. You know, they were having. Right. It was carefree, and that's what the song represents.
And it's kind of like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's kind of like the wallpaper of our lives, right? Because
it's always there,
it's
like in
always
the background.
there. It's always there, and we have like Google alerts for the song and stuff, and literally at least once a week, and sometimes several times a week, there's something that always comes up about it. And we have a list of like things that the name attached itself to over the years. Like, it's astounding. It's kind of become a cultural meme, like.
And I mean, you're ours, so like, this is Toronto Mike, so this is very Toronto-centric program, but like, you're ours. Like, this is sort of the pride we feel that, yeah, you're this is Martha and the Muffins, Toronto band, representing us. Like, how was this song received outside of Canada?
It did really well, and I think it had the same emotional impact in other countries, like in Australia and England and around the world. The only place it didn't impact was the States, but that was because record company bullshit.
Well, so would you elaborate a little on that? Because I've only ever lived in this city, so I don't know like what's hitting in the U.S. until I go to Wiki and then look at chart things and stuff. But like, what is it that happened that this wasn't a big, U.S. hit?
What happened was Virgin had an office in New York City at the time that we were signed and we did the album. And then for some reason, Richard Branson decided to pull out briefly. Like they came back, but just when our album was being released in the States, Virgin closed down that office, handed the catalog over to Atlantic Records. Atlantic's looking at this going, I don't know who this is. We don't know who these people are, and it died. It died. Now, if that had happened the way it happened everywhere else,
things would be different.
But not necessarily, we wouldn't be here. We would have probably never met Dan Lanois. Everything that happened after that, right?
Because that could be taken two ways. Because if this thing hits big in the States, you wouldn't be here in some guy's basement in South Etobicoke.
No, we might be.
Would you?
Yeah, we would.
Promise?
Because we. Yeah, no.
I think
honestly,
he meant more sort of.
I know. I'm having fun. I'm having fun with him.
You'd have a bigger basement.
Yeah,
you would have met you and given you some money.
Well, yeah, maybe you'd lower I got to lower the floor or whatever.
Yeah, you'd go. Can you give me some money to lower?
I got to dig. Sure. You know how expensive it is to lower a basement.
We looked into that ourselves.
It's like no, that's real. Just duck. I'll just put a sticker. By the way, shout out to Sticker U. Okay, that's another Toronto institution, but they're available everywhere online at stickeru.com for providing the Check Your Head sticker, which has saved many people from concussions. I think they're doing important work there. So
it worked for us.
Yeah, well, sometimes I tell people several times, like down the stairs, now when be careful when you turn, and I'll say it over and over again. And I don't know if people think I'm talking about the bottom of the stairs. So sometimes I'll be like, I know you think I'm talking about the bottom of the stairs, but no, when you turn right, there's a lower ceiling, and everyone over 5'7" hits it. And then people are like, yeah, don't worry, smash.
Yeah. You should have a Toronto Mike's compilation video of everybody's just have a camera up there.
Right.
And
yeah, a super cut of everybody hitting their head on the that's funny. Okay, so I have Echo Beach. Martha, you said you think about that period of time, and do you want to share some of those memories of this time in your life when you're recording Echo Beach and releasing it into the wild?
Well, I remember flying over to England and seeing the manor for the first time. It was amazing, to be working in this historical building, and everybody's there for you. And you learn later that you're paying for it all out of your royalties.
So how does it? So is it you are paying for it all? So it's like what you get? Like this is X dollars, and then they extract the cost of the promotion and marketing.
It's
like
really,
how does it work?
It's very ugly. It's very corrupt.
I mean, do you have 2 days, Mike, that we can tell you about the sordid underside of the music?
We uncover big stories on Toronto, Mike.
Well,
this is what we do.
I think what people don't realize is that the band or the artist ends up paying for just about everything, and they pay for it out of their tiny 10% or 15% or whatever they've.
The game
signed.
is rigged.
Yeah, and when you sign as a young artist, probably in your teens or 20s, you in those days actually,
right.
You would not really understand the ramifications of what you're signing, and you have a lawyer, but they hold all the cards. You have no name yet or anything.
You have no leverage either because in that period, pre-internet particularly, you really had to align yourself or somehow with some distribution of a major label, right? Like that, you couldn't really be indie.
No, indie didn't exist then.
And what they do is they had a thing called cross-collateralization of the royalties. So because there was Virgin Records and Virgin Music, which was the publishing. So they take all the publishing revenue, which is the majority of it, and they put it to your record debt. So they take everything.
So again, part of my ignorance on all this, I recently spoke to Ivan from Men Without Hats, and he wrote the Safety Dance. Okay, a very different song, but similarly takes you right back in like a time machine when you hear it. And I was trying to kind of ask him like, how lucrative was it? How lucrative was Echo Beach to you two? Like, are checks still showing up in the mail?
Oh yeah, it's paid on most of the bills over the years,
But But for the first 10 years, the only money that was coming in were my songwriter royalties, which record companies don't control. So in other words, SOCAN, which is the Canadian Performing Rights organization, collects your songwriting royalties worldwide. There was no other money coming in, and so we did 3 albums with Virgin, so we were in debt to them according to their accounting. It took a decade before we actually paid that off, and then started seeing other kinds of royalties. But that cross-collateralization thing that Martha mentions is considered like absolute thievery.
Yes,
and nobody would, ever do that now, hopefully. And if we were to show you our contract, it's buried.
Let me see that contract.
I should have brought it because we do consider publishing it on the internet. Going,
you know what?
Here's what
sunlight is the best antiseptic.
Yes,
I've had we experienced this on the weekend actually in Toronto radio circles. So yes, shine a light on that because I may swear. Martha? Are you okay? Mm-hmm. Bullshit. This is bullshit what I'm hearing. You're the artists. You're the content creators. You're the driving force behind Echo Beach. That's your song. You're performing it. Martha's vocals. It's fantastic. It's iconic. We all think. I got questions right now for you about Echo Beach. And to hear you tell me how the record labels are making off with all the dough.
Yeah, and they still are because Spotify pays most of the money to the record companies still, the people who own the copyright. they shouldn't really own the copyright forever. But
Do you
that's
ever
the way it
get
was.
like a check from Spotify in the mail?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Is it-
we published one on our Facebook page. I don't know about. I'm going to say it feels like 2 years ago, but it's probably 5
Is
years
it pre-pandemic?
ago. Yeah, it was pre.
Then that's how I gauge
Yeah.
That's
everything now.
Yeah. So it was at least 2 years ago. And we got a check from the Harry Fox agency in New York City. So the postage on the envelope was something like, $1.50. And we opened up the check and it was for 2 cents.
Wow.
So that tells you, and basically there are people with literally hundreds of thousands of hits on Spotify that are getting checks for like $100.
Wow.
Now, if you've talked to a lot of people, Mike, and some people have probably shared similar stories to this, but basically, it doesn't change. And I think if you're an artist or a band that's been around for a long time, like us and many other people, they will all say the same thing. They will all have stories like this.
And the stories are even more dire when I get the story of bands that are famous in Canada only. Like there's a I'm thinking now of one of my favorite bands of all time, Sloan. I love
Right?
Sloan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Again, I'm a Toronto guy, so to me, Sloan are on Much Music all the time. Many, many hits you'd hear on the radio. I would listen to CFNY. You hear your Sloan. We're going to talk about CFY in a minute, actually. But when you actually have a private conversation with the members of Sloan about money, and you realize, wow, like if Sloan has that type of a financial situation, like that to me is a big rock band. Like
Yeah.
it's
No, it's completely
backwards.
Completely
it's
backwards.
I mean, some people did it right. You go back to the Beatles era,
Mhm.
the Dave Clark 5. Dave Clark kept his publishing,
I don't know how he did it, but
and he made a lot of money.
he made huge
So that's the
amounts of
key
money.
right there.
Keep your publishing. Yeah, never give that up.
Never give it up.
But I think Carol Pope had a quote about being, exposed enough and famous enough to not be able to take the subway and
'Cause
not
she's too
enough money to
famous.
take cabs or
Too
something.
too famous to take the TTC, and too poor to take a taxi.
Great quote, but Margaret Atwood takes the TTC. Just throwing that out there for sure. No shame in that.
She has no shortage of money, I don't think.
No, right.
Maybe
right.
she likes being recognized.
Wow, I bike everywhere for what it's worth, but I've never written a song, no song at all, let alone a song as iconic as Echo Beach. So here's a few questions here. Matthew Milligan, here's a question: where is Echo Beach?
Well, that question comes up a lot, Matthew, and basically it was an idea in my head. So to go back a bit, at about 75, I was working in a wallpaper factory, probably a half mile from here. It was the Color Your World factory, and it's
Wow.
long gone now.
Right.
And my job was to, these huge printing presses would be rolling off this wallpaper, but every so often something would go wrong. So they'd stop the press, they'd cut off the damaged stuff, they'd give it to me, I would put it on a smaller roller and separate what was good in there from the bad stuff. That was my job that summer. And
Right.
that's where the germ of the song came from. I thought I'd rather be anywhere but here. And then the second part of the song came from a few years later, a nighttime trip down to the lakeshore. But basically,
But what part of Lakeshore? Just so 'cause these details matter to me. Like,
Yeah.
because
It's a
Lakeshore
very-
could be anywhere. Is that Harborfront?
No,
Is it-
you know where the dinosaurs
Yeah. Yes.
playground is?
Zowski.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's that.
I almost said Peter Zowski, but it's not Peter Zowski.
No, it's
Casimir
That's
Zowski.
right.
100%. Because I like last night when I went to the new GLB brew pub, I'm on the Martin Goodman Trail every single day. I know that park with the dinosaurs.
okay. So I was there with a friend,
Okay.
looking out back at the city, which I'm not even sure if you can look back at the city. But anyway, the surrealistic sight
Right.
verse came from there. So
Okay.
Echo Beach was a state of mind.
Okay, interesting. So I was at Great Lakes Beer Pub yesterday with two women. We were talking, and I mentioned Martha and the Muffins are coming over. Mark, are you okay that it's Martha and the Muffins? You're just the Muffins.
I've accepted. I can live with that.
Okay, good. There's worse things to be called. But,
Really?
And we were talking about Echo Beach because they love Echo Beach. And I said, where is Echo Beach? That's what I said. I guess you hear that a lot. And they both, although one might have been leading the other, but they both were sure Echo Beach was in Ontario Place. Like the Ontario Place beach. And I go there all the time on my bike through the new park there. And hearing you tell me that's not a specific beach, it's a state of mind. They're wrong, but they've been living their whole lives thinking that it was in Ontario Place.
No, well, they're not necessarily wrong because when the song became famous, back in the day when people wrote letters and continuing now via email, etc., people all over the world would go, "You must mean the one in Australia. You must mean the one here." And so everybody, and then, I think there is an Echo Beach in Northern Ontario, but I didn't know any of that. And that only came after the song came out.
Interesting.
And there is a venue at Ontario Place, called Echo Beach, which Live Nation started a few years ago, and we had to go after them to get some recognition because they didn't acknowledge that it was us, even though everybody was saying so.
That's the origin of their...
Yes, so they're not wrong.
Yes.
There is a venue called Echo Beach.
I think it started in 2011.
Okay.
It's been around for a while now.
Gotcha. So yeah, good 30 plus years after they heard Echo Beach on the radio. Who was playing, I guess I should just not disclose in a bad way, but in a good way, that we do a lot of talk on this program about CFNY. And there's a very special episode, 1021, see what I did there, where people like David Marsden and Ivor Hamilton and Scott Turner and May Potts and Alan Cross and so many people from CFNY joined me to talk about the history of the station. You guys should check it out. But what role did CFNY play in terms of the Toronto success of Echo Beach?
Well, they played us. I think they were the first to play us.
There's an argument about that. It was either Chum FM when Chum FM was a real FM station,
right,
or CFNY. But
we got a lot of support from radio early in our existence, and I think they even played a demo. The demo,
They were unbelievably important in the history of Toronto music. I mean, they almost single-handedly, promoted bands that no other radio station would have played until or unless they got bigger.
Right.
And, we used to go out to the Little House
in Brampton
to do the interviews. And, they were just fantastic. I hope, they are getting recognition, but I think among bands and artists, we owe them such a debt of gratitude for doing what they did. And besides them, between CFNY and the Garys,
yes,
there should be a bloody monument somewhere, like an Arc de Triomphe, on Yonge Street or somewhere with those people, because they single-handedly or together, just did so much to bring music to people's attention that might have never been heard.
Well, I'm glad you're shouting out the Garys, because I've been long advocating for some type of, I always say given the Order of Canada, but more than that, even some kind of monument or something. And they're both FOTM. So shout out to Gary Cormier and Gary Top, who are good friends of the program. But yeah, they deserve all this great. By the way, yesterday, this is on a sad note, yesterday was the date for the Joy Division show at the Edge in 1980. That never happened because Ian Curtis took his life before that tour. But the tickets were printed, and Gary Top was sharing, I guess Bass Outlets or something, but was sharing the tickets for the event that tragically never happened.
Yeah, we went to it must have been one of their last concerts in London.
Yeah, it was May, actually. It might have been their last concert in London. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was cut short, wasn't it?
No.
Oh, no, that was New Order.
That was New Order here.
That's
it all becomes a blur.
It's all a blur. Yeah.
Okay, so more Echo Beach. We will. I won't give you the treatment unless you want it. But when I had Gino Vanelli here, I kept harping on Black Cars because it hit me at the right time when I was listening to the CFTR in the mid '80s. And at some point, Gino stopped down, and Gino went, "Can we get off Black Cars already?" So it's like I've been hesitant to harp on one song too much. But here are some more questions for you. If Echo Beach was far away in time in 1980, are we almost there? So think on that one.
Okay, that's got to be
deep thoughts.
Well, I said something recently in an interview. I think it was. I said, we've done a 30th anniversary we did of Echo Beach. That's a very reflective version, and quieter version.
Yes.
And I said it's looking back at looking back.
Right.
So
Very meta.
So we're still looking back because people do. People look to the past to see what their future is going to be.
But that's a very clever question, and my guess is that's a particle physicist asking that question.
That broke my brain when I started to think. I think it helps you find that zen.
Yeah, it's
you just
great.
think on that one for a
love
minute.
that.
So it's a great question. Okay, you mentioned a second Martha here. Who is the other Martha?
Martha Ladley was somebody I knew from actually we went back to public school together, but we were students at Etobicoke Collegiate, and she arrived after having lived in England for a while back in Toronto around 78, and so we asked her to join the band because we were looking for I think we were looking for a second guitarist, and she tried out and she was not a good guitarist, so she ended up doing keyboards and backing vocals.
And we thought it would be cute to have two Marthas.
Well, that is amazing because they're few and far between these days. I did just see Martha Plimpton in a really good movie actually just on the weekend. But
it's Martha Wainwright.
Yeah, that's what but you can count them on one hand, and then at some point there's Martha Washington.
Yeah, that's what they used to call me in grade school.
Oh, no.
I hated it.
Actually, Steve Paikin and I had a game this morning where we were emailing each other back and forth to name as many Marthas as we could. At some point, I did win that contest because
how many did you get?
Not that many. It's a short list.
There's Martha Stewart.
Right.
There's Martha Graham, the choreographer.
Oh, I don't even think I knew that Martha.
I'm running out of
We need more Marthas.
We need more Marthas.
Okay, but Will's question specifically is why did Martha Ladley leave the band?
Okay, well, that's a very delicate question because she...
I don't know whether we should get into it.
Yeah.
Did you sign an NDA about this one?
No, but it's never really... Both parties have politely ignored why she isn't in the band.
What wasn't?
And it wasn't... Let's just say that that we had different ideas about what... Okay, here's what happened. Okay, so there were 6 people. Let's go back. Everybody had different personalities. And some were way more into the stardom part of it than others. And there was a range. But Andy and I were probably on the anti-star end of it. And then Martha Ladley might have been on the other end. And the sudden fame and attention started fracturing the band. Let's leave it at that. And it got fractured.
I also think that an element that came into it a lot was that Mark and Martha Ladley were a couple.
Oh yeah, okay.
Romantically, and I think
we're going to go down.
They weren't getting along too well.
Yeah, that was a relationship
that can be difficult.
was
this is like a Fleetwood Mac situation here.
Yeah, one day we'll write the book. But
yeah.
Okay, so Mark has a thing for Marthas. Is that what I'm?
Well, that's and like Martha.
Oh, he's been with me for over 40 years. So.
Yeah, but if Martha Stewart came around, I don't know.
Oh yeah, she's looking great. Sure. Okay, but you got to fight Snoop Dogg for that one. Okay. Wow. Okay, so I won't pry. This, you've shared what you're willing to share, but that will complicate relations in a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That year was amazing because so much was happening, but it was also, as I said, it affected everybody differently. And it's interesting how when I see people that are on that mega level of fame, I don't think half of the band would ever wanted that. And there have been moments in our travel through this whole thing where we've been, especially when videos came out, where you'd be walking up the street with a roll of toilet paper and you'd be surrounded by high school girls, and you're going, yeah, this isn't really what I'm.
By the way, we're live on the Pirate stream, which is live.torontomike.com. So I just checked in, and there is a quick question for you that we passed this topic earlier, but just quickly, did RBC give you any money at all to call their venue RBC Echo Beach?
Oh man,
that's Canada Kev.
Yeah, we're digging into.
We dealt with the Live Nation.
Okay.
And there was an understanding
Oh, and their point.
reached.
He also. So there. Okay, so you've reached some kind of. You're all happy.
But
with
here's
how
the
that
answer
worked
to
out.
that. The
Sorry.
banks have never acknowledged it. We went through Live Nation, and we did get some compensation because, and we can't tell you what that was because there's an NDA there. But it took a bit of work. What am I going to say about this?
We were always treated well, though, I think.
Yeah, no, they were pretty good about it, but they would not allow. Part of the deal was to put that we wanted was a plaque, at least acknowledging that Echo Beach was named after
Right.
the song.
At the very least, yeah.
And then I believe probably their lawyers, for whatever reason, refused to do that, which I think is pretty shameful. but-
Probably like the lawyer, if I channel my inner lawyer, like that somehow is accepting the truth, which is that it's your Echo Beach, you own Echo Beach somehow, this name anyways, and then there would be it would open them up to some further.
Yes, that's probably the logic. And
lawyers ruin everything.
well, and we were like when that venue got bigger and bigger, and it went. The original bank, I think, was TD,
Yeah.
and then it was the Royal. And we got increasingly uncomfortable with the fact that everybody seemed to be, using this name and making money from it, except us.
Right.
Right?
It didn't feel right.
It
No.
just felt really
Because
gross
that
and
name
uproar.
only resonates with Torontonians because of you.
Yeah, they wouldn't have named.
No. There's no alternative universe where they call it Echo Beach without your song being such a staple.
Yeah,
such a
exactly.
Toronto jam. It is a definitive. Way before I met you guys, if I'm cooking together my 10 definitive Toronto jams, Echo Beach is on the list every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Wow.
That's me. That's true. By the way, Canada Kev, who asked that great question, also points out Martha and the Vandells. So let's shout out Martha and the Vandells. So.
Yeah, that's right. Martha Reeves.
Right.
Right. Yeah, there's
So
another
let's not
one.
forget. Okay.
Martha Graham.
Martha, that's right.
Martha Graham's a dancer.
Right, the dancer, the choreographer. Now, Diamond Dog, though, says, when Martha Ladley was in the band, did you ever consider changing the name to Muffin and the Marthas?
That never came up.
No.
No. Okay.
No, we didn't.
Scott Foster says, This Is the Ice Age is definitely one of my favorite all-time albums. How did Daniel Lanois get involved in that project?
Well, when the band had personnel changes, we were looking for a bass player, and Jocelyn Lanois, who's Dan's sister, came in and auditioned for the gig, and we hired her. She could join the band, and she said that she had a brother, some brothers, because it was Bob and Dan
Yeah. Awesome.
in Hamilton, who had a studio, and we could probably make our demo at Grant Avenue. So that's how we met Dan and Bob.
But it was another total chance thing because I think an art student friend of mine was working at a cafe and Jocelyn was there. And when I mentioned to my friend that we were looking for a bass player, she said, "Oh, there's a waitress, at this place I'm working with that plays bass." And we went, "Oh, great." And that's how that came about. And yes, as Martha says, we went and demoed the Ice Age album at Grant Avenue, and we got on really well with Dan, and ended up doing 3 albums with him.
Amazing. What a legend. Okay, by the way, I have so many Echo Beach questions. Trev wants to know, Martha, were you actually an office clerk?
Yes, I was. I didn't write the song, but I was an office clerk. I worked for OHIP. I worked for the OMB. And
that's that lyric. So, Mark, you wrote that lyric.
yeah,
Yes, but
that was because he didn't want to say I'm a wallpaper sorter.
yeah, that wasn't going to work. So I thought,
It
well,
didn't
what?
roll off the tongue. I don't think I could
It
have
wasn't
sung
as
that
catchy.
No.
from 9 to 5.
But that's become one of the lyrics. Like if you just were to write down or just say lyrics with no music attached to it, that would kind of bring you back to the 80s. That's one of those lyrics.
And the English thought it was really funny because they pronounced clerk as
Clerk.
Clark,
An office clerk.
an office clerk.
It all comes back to Dave Clark. See, it's all full circle here. You guys are now experiencing the full circle Toronto Mike experience here. Mike Moniz says, my 11-year-old son. Oh, okay. Am I missing a word? Okay. To my 11-year-old son, Echo Beach. Okay. This is about his 11-year-old son. Echo Beach is one of his all-time favorite songs and one of the first riffs he insisted I teach him on guitar. How do you feel hearing that? And did you think that when you wrote that song that you would have the influence it still has here in 2022? I mean, we're talking 2022 and Mike Moniz's 11-year-old son his favorite jam is Echo Beach. He's the first song he learned on guitar. Think about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, I love that. So thank you for telling us that. And I think the thing about the climate of the band, or the climate of the time we were in, none of us expected to be professional about this. We just, it was art college. Hey, everybody's forming a band. I don't know how to play, but let's start a band. That was going on in Toronto, London, New York, and all those other cities. And nobody expected it to go on. Like, I think most of us thought, okay, it'll go for 2 years. We'll do some gigs around Toronto. Then we'll get on with our real lives. And because we were signed with Virgin, and because they made Echo Beach a hit, we managed to do this. So, the fact that we're still doing it is astounding. But I think Martha would agree. We never take any of it for granted. Like, we're still as flabbergasted and amazed and happy about the fact that we can still do this. Something we would have never dreamed of back in 1977.
Who were your local, I'm thinking Toronto now, GTA anyways, like who were your contemporaries going back to the late 70s, early 80s?
Well, I played in a band called Oh Those Pants, and that was a band that some of the members came from Thornhill that I had gone to high school with.
What high school? Thornley?
No, Thornley. It was Thornhill Secondary School.
Okay, only because that comes up on the show, Thornley, because shout out to Cam Gordon and Stu Stone. Please
My
continue.
brother David Johnson went to Thornley, but I was I think Thornley opened the year I left.
I gotcha.
And so I was in these bands, and a lot of bands were being formed out of the friends that I had, like the Dishes. Let's see who else. The Cads.
Johnny and the G-Rays.
There
was a whole Thornhill contingent that came down to live in, around Queen Street West. And there's actually a professor of sociology at Vassar College in upstate New York, Leonard Neverez, he's actually in the middle of writing a book on the Muffins, but as a side thing, he researched all the people in Thornhill that had bands that were going, and some of them, as you've said to me, only lasted a weekend. Yeah. Then there'd be some other band, and the center of that was a guy named Stephen Davey, who was at one point did write music columns for The Star, and then he became Now Magazine's food critic. But he was a central person in that whole thing. So the Dishes were a big influence on us.
Wow.
Even though nobody's probably
It's
ever
funny
heard
how
of
that
them.
band's called the Dishes, and we have a Spoons.
Yes.
Yes.
The Spoons were part of that scene too, but a little bit later.
Did they ever do like a show together, the Dishes and the Spoons?
No, I think the Dishes were long gone before the Spoons.
Isn't there a band called Spoon now?
Yeah,
there
that's
is,
just to confuse, to make
We should have all, we have all the edible band names play a concert together.
Yeah, is there a fork? I got to look into this.
Cranberries.
Yeah, for sure. The late great. Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna play another of your jams. Actually, let me kick it up. So I don't think it's because I was chatting. There's a top secret FOTM DM group on Twitter, and we were chatting yesterday about Echo Beach and how Boom is still playing that thing on the reg. Like, I'm sure they're playing it right now.
Your arms around me and tell me that you care. I don't want to be there. I was fine when you met me, but now I'm blue. Oh yeah. I never needed you to come along. You sing a different tune when I am gone. There's a song in my head going round and round, 'cause there's something in my heart that I've never found. There's a song in my head going round and round, 'cause there's something in my heart that I've never found.
Then there's this song, which is again a song that was seemed to me as a young man to be everywhere on the radio. Like this song just seemed everywhere, and you hear it and taking you right back.
Yeah, it was played a lot, and we got the royalties to prove it. And it was just we got the royalties when we moved to England and to Bath, and it helped a lot. But I thought this song was going to be big in the States.
Well, it's catchy catchy AF, as the kids might say. Like this song, that there's a song in my head that goes round and round. Like that's a super catchy chorus, like a bit of an earworm.
I thought so too.
Okay, well.
Yeah, but again, it was record company bullshit.
Yeah, man. Okay.
Yeah, if you go onto our YouTube site with this video, there's a lot of people going, "How on earth was this never a huge hit?" And basically, the American record companies just didn't care. If you were from somewhere else and you weren't a hard rock band or something, it was they just weren't that interested.
We also signed to one executive board who were fired, and a whole new executive board came along when our album was released,
right?
And the single, and they didn't know who we are, care about us at all. So I mean, we sound like real whiners, though. But
no, we're not whining.
I mean,
right?
This is real talk, right? Like if that happened, we should talk about it.
Yeah, it did really well in Canada. Very well.
Oh yeah, well that's it. Again, from my Toronto perspective, this song was everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
no,
it's still in my head.
It got tons of exposure, and of course, Much Music was great at that time. To get on there, you knew that you were going to get a lot of people. Like earlier with CFNY, Much Music, in its early days, was a really good promoter of Canadian talent as well.
I think a lot of these songs that could be updated too. They could be done today because lyrically, I think they're still interesting. I mean, and relevant, and they have very hooky melodies and guitar lines.
And that seems to be the way of the world now. Is you get a hook from an older song and you kind of wrap your rhymes and stuff around that. You just modernize it with a new style, and then that would be more checks in the mail.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, that's never been a big motivation, though, the money. We've been lucky, but that's not
Mark,
why we started.
You're sitting on all that wallpaper money.
That's right. Yeah, there's a ton of that, let me tell you.
So I'm sorry to interrupt there with my terrible joke, but is it so you're telling me money's not your motivation here? You're an artist.
Well, I know, and that can sound really pretentious, like it can, and I acknowledge that, but commercial stuff, okay, here's the thing, the band loves pop music, and we like writing pop music, but we have another whole other side to us, and particularly me, because Echo Beach was about, the third song I ever wrote, and I didn't really know how to write pop music, because I was coming out of an experimental music background. So freeform, improvised music. And that part of the band is there as well. So, the stuff you've heard on the radio is like the tip of the iceberg. And then there's a whole other world of Martha and the Muffins that diehard fans know all about, and you'll get these comments about, well, I hated Echo Beach, but I really like this song,
right.
Like one of the weird ones or something. So we have like a very wide ranging slew of fans, and some are very opinionated about what they don't like and what they do. And I think maybe one of the issues that kept us from reaching higher levels of success commercially was that we never expressed a desire that way, that we were more interested in the process of making the music rather than getting its rewards financially. And that on every album, there's a lot of other stuff besides the radio singles that probably put record companies off. They went, what are we going to do with this band? Like, okay, there's this one song, and then everything else is weird.
Right. It's okay. So you came of an age. We're talking late 70s, early 80s, when you could be sort of a starving artist and live in the city of Toronto. Like I am just now thinking, you were talking about like the record label bullshit, and Kim Mitchell was on this program telling a story about basically like the label stopped pushing his Go for Soda was the song they were pushing in the States, and they abandoned it because they decided they would push Twisted Sister instead, which was on the same label. Like this is literally a decision in a boardroom, and that was it. After that, Kim Mitchell is a Canadian star.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's more people in California than there are in Canada. But I'm thinking of Kim because when Max Webster, shout out to Max Webster, they were living, he was telling me they had no money and they all lived in a house together in the East End of Toronto. And he was telling me like, it was like $100 each a month or something to live in this house where they could be starving artists and hone their craft and get better. And I mean, where the heck do you do that in 2022? This small house where you guys are ducking to get into the seats here probably sells for $1.5 million today. Like, how do you even live in Toronto as an artist without money at this point?
I think a lot of people are leaving. A lot of people are going to Barrie. I know.
Even that's got pricey now.
Yeah.
I have a friend in Barrie. It's changed there too. Like where you go, like, I don't know where you go now. Like, how far do you got to go to find a place where you can live and be a starving artist?
Yeah.
And from a sociological point of view, that is not a healthy future for a city where the young people or anybody who's below a certain income level cannot buy property. I mean, it's a middle class thing, or rent. Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I've read articles about, for instance, San Francisco, how it's after World War II, that was a huge cultural hub. There were writers and musicians in the 60s, where all these bands like Jefferson Airplane. Did the Grateful Dead?
Is this Haight-Ashbury? Is that the neck of the woods we're talking
Yes.
about?
Yeah.
Yes. That's a whole big magic scene. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and so, but it's dead now. Apparently, there's descriptions of San Francisco where you walk down like what used to be major avenues full of life and culture, and it's all like stores for rich people.
Yeah.
And it's a huge problem, and I don't know. I certainly don't know what the solutions are, but I see it as very dangerous. And we bought our house 30 years ago almost, and like everybody else in Toronto has a house. If you bought it back then,
right,
there was a chance that you could hang on to it.
Yes.
But it's a huge problem. And, as Martha said, people are moving out. And as you say, Mike, that area of expensive houses is spreading to Barrie and Dundas and Hamilton. And,
yeah, Burlington, right? Like Burlington is a place I think of like 10 years ago. It's like, we get a lot more space in Burlington for a lot less money. Not today.
No.
It's gone. And I will just say the future of your Toronto musicians, the future is kids with rich parents. Like this is your parents are able to finance your, ability to live in this city without making a large income.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to be people who come from money.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting when the parents' savings are gone though. And they're 80s and 90s, and there's who's going to take care of them then?
Well, we did a podcast about 2 months ago with these younger guys that were musicians, and I asked them, and I said, because we talked about that because this is a big issue.
Well, because I have 4 kids, and it's always on my mind. Where do they go after university?
Yeah, and I asked these guys. I said, so you've got a band, that's great. But I said, where do you rehearse? In the old days on Queen Street, there were all those, just south of Queen, there were all those like early manufacturing buildings that were all like either...
Yeah, they're all condos, right?
Yeah, they're all condos now. And I said, and he said, we practice in my parents' basement, and that's how it works. It's a problem.
It's a problem. Look, okay, so I want to talk about a name change, and then I want to talk about current stuff. But Martha, you mentioned a band you were in before, Martha and the Muffins, and it had the word pants in it. What was the name of the band?
Oh, Those Pants.
Oh, Those Pants.
And it was like 10 guys and me.
Okay.
And I came into the band later in their career.
Okay.
Short-lived.
And it was it was an OCA band, Ontario College of Art, based on there, and we played shows there at very few shows, but usually at the college.
Oh, Those Pants. Oh, Those Pants. It's amazing to me that the band's called Oh, Those Pants, because I've been hearing that phrase from people for the last couple of weeks, because I've been rocking the Doer pants, the world's most comfortable pants.
So, well, you want a song to go with that?
Yes.
I'm sure my friend Owen would be happy to put a song together.
So Straight up though, these pants, not only do I look great, but in fact, after our recording, I have a podcast consultation gig at a real business, and I'm going to be wearing my Doer pants because I can bike in them. So I'm going to bike in these pants, and then I'm going to walk into the boardroom wearing these pants. And it's amazing to have such comfortable, stretchy pants that I can wear in the bike lane and then wear in the boardroom. So I just want to let everyone know they have a retail store on Queen West here in Toronto, and doer.ca, DUER.ca, and you can save 15% if you use the promo code TMDS. It really helps the show, and great pants, most comfortable pants in the world. So shout out to Doer. And just one more before I play, not Martha and the Muffins, but we'll talk about it. I'm all choked up talking about the name change here. Okay, but I just want to shout out Canna Cabana. Do either of you guys smoke weed?
Not anymore.
No.
No more. Okay.
No more.
You can consume it other ways, of course. But
Yes, you can.
and regardless of how you consume cannabis, the place to go is Canna Cabana, cannacabana.com. They won't be undersold on cannabis or cannabis accessories. And I just want to let you know there's a few gifts for you real quick here. Stickeru.com has a Toronto Mike sticker for you. I mentioned the beer. I mentioned the lasagna. Ridley Funeral Home. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Brad's podcast there is Life's Undertaking. You never know when you have to measure something, so you stick this in your purse or
Is
whatever.
that for
It's
like
measuring tape?
for a dead person to measure like
To measure the corpse, see what kind of, what size you need.
That's
for
a
the
good
coffin.
size tape measure.
Yeah, it's and yes, and there's a toque for you from Canna Cabana as well. So
Nice
and there's a
plastic.
cozy here on one of the Great Lakes beers you're taking home with you. So a whole bunch of great stuff for you guys to take
And
home.
we have something for you, Mike.
Whoa!
We brought something.
We
Okay.
brought you a classic reissue Martha and the Muffins
Oh my
T-shirt
God, I love that.
with Toronto Harbor and Echo Beach on it.
Okay, I love T-shirts first of all, and I'm wearing my Fred Penner Fredhead T-shirt, and I'm gonna. In fact, I'm for the photo, so I'm gonna. As soon as I take my headphones off, I'm gonna stick this on. Thank you so much, and I'm gonna wear it for our photo because we got to take a photo before you drive away. I have questions about this. I have questions about this song.
A voice inside my car told me today there was a song of love they would not play. She was one, he was one. A voice inside my car told me today. Black stations, white stations, break down the doors. Stand up and face the music, this is 1984. Black stations, white stations, feet on the floor. Dance on the ceiling with us, this is 1984.
How come this song is not credited to Martha and the Muffins?
I have to take full responsibility for this. And
Confess your sins, please.
okay, so I guess somewhere between 83 and 84, I decided that I was tired of being called a muffin. And I went, let's get a new name. We'll just shorten it to M+M.
Right.
To be like Mark and Martha. And I don't know if you remember, years ago, Coke came out with like some new Coke. There was Coke
85.
Classic. Was it 85?
Yep, I remember it well.
Okay, so, and it was a disaster, right? Like nobody liked the new Coke
Right,
or
and they had
whatever.
to bring back Coca-Cola Classic.
That's right. So that's exactly what we
so
did.
this is all by design. I'm gonna change the name and make people beg for the Muffins to come back.
We weren't that clever about it.
But it didn't represent Mark and Martha.
Huh?
It didn't represent Mark and Martha.
Okay, what did M&M stand for
Yeah,
then?
what
It was
did-
Not
just
market.
it was just a logo kind of thing for Martha and the Muffins. And then the first
Oh,
time,
Martha and Muffins.
and the first time we used it on an album, we had both
Oh
names.
yeah, that's right, on
It had
Dance Park. Yeah.
it had Martha and the Muffins and M+M.
That's
so
right.
As a transition.
Okay, so yes, okay, so that was like a logo for Martha and the Muffins, and then it just became the moniker. Because this song, which by the way, I always appreciated you dropping the year in the lyrics, because I can never forget what year this
Yeah.
song came out. So 1984.
Yeah, and I don't know whether that was a wise thing to do because it forever places the song in 1984.
Right. So that's true.
If you want to get it on in a movie or on a TV show or something like that.
Yeah, well, if Netflix has a show based in 1984, the easiest way to let people know what year you're in is to put this on.
Or we could do an update. This is 2024.
Right. Oh yes. So I will say I love the song, and I love the video, and I love hearing the song. I dig it. I still dig it. But this is 84, and I'm trying to get my timelines right. But were both of you involved with Tears Are Not Enough?
No.
Just Martha?
It was just Martha.
It was just me.
Yeah. So Martha, okay, so I will disclose to you that we are also mildly infatuated with Tears Are Not Enough on this program. Cam Gordon joined me for a 2.5 hour deep dive into it. So whenever I have someone on who is involved, I have very specific questions. Who invited you to participate?
Well,
I guess it came through our manager, Jerry Young, at the time, right?
Yeah, and the record company, I think. Why, do you have a backstory, I think?
No, not for you guys. I mean, I can tell you they were very upset when, I guess it was Bruce Allen, Jim Valance, and Terry David Mulligan. Shout out to Terry David Mulligan, who, when Buffy St. Marie bailed, I think Bruce got the call, and then he put down the phone and he said, "Buffy bailed." This was the line, and that's become an iconic catchphrase on this show. If somebody, yesterday, Ian Thomas, Buffy bailed. Okay. So, any stories at all? Like any stories you remember about recording Tears Are Not Enough?
Well, one of the things I do remember is I was standing. I think there was a clear view of me in the group in the group stuff. You could see me, and then for some reason they moved Burton Cummings right in front of me, who's a very tall man.
Right.
And you don't really see me in the video. I think there's one quick shot.
Right.
And I don't know whether Black Stations, White Stations was happening yet, but I don't think they considered me to be.
Even though Echo Beach was a big hit years before.
No, I don't think whoever was running that thing.
Well,
I think
that was Bruce Allen. David Foster was David Foster and Bruce Allen.
He probably just didn't like the way I sang.
So it's 85. I think they recorded and dropped this thing in 1985.
Yeah, so that'd be a year.
I mean, I'm not your kind of. Celine Dion kind of singer. I never will be, never would have been. Like I have a style of singing that's unique, and it's my style. And I don't think I sound like anybody else. And like David Foster, there's that famous scene where he tells Neil Young.
I love this scene.
That he's out of tune a little bit. He says, "Man, that's just my style."
You know what? That just tells me how David Foster's totally out of it. Like when you tell Neil, but I mean that's a whole other.
Yeah.
He's not.
That's a whole other like musical sensibility.
So that's what I think happened in my own mind is that.
Well, yeah, he's like yacht rocking over there with the. I'm thinking, he's yacht rocking on the West Coast. Like he's not. Yeah, but that line by Neil Young, that's like my sound, man.
Yeah, exactly.
But that Neil even had to explain that to him. Just
David didn't get you eclectic.
They were not like those people were not out of the new wave era.
Right.
I mean, the fact that you got asked was a miracle, really, because it wasn't really that. Those groups of people were not oriented towards the more indie, punky, new wave, art pop end of things.
Right. Well, I'm glad you were there representing.
It was a good cause and everything.
Sure. Absolutely. And it was a good song. I guess the lyrics, I think, are Jim Valance, some Bryan Adams peppering it up. But it was, and David Foster did the music. But I always thought that was a good song. I always thought it was better than the USA for Africa song.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tears Are Not Enough. And now I can add Martha Johnson to my list of Tears Are Not Enough people in the show. Okay. By the way, we just to give him credit, DJ Dream Doctor did write in and he said he wanted to know why you rebranded yourself as Eminem in the 80s, but we covered that. And then he said he wants you to know that he can't get that song Song in My Head out of his head many decades later. And it really is an earworm. I had Blair Packham here last week, and he wrote Last of the Red Hot Fools when he was with the Jitters. And that song is another song where it burrows deep into my head. And that song, I must have have been, crazy playing it dumb. Should have played it cool. Use my head, but not my heart. And then it's hard to stop, actually. So I'm going to move on. But, shout out to
keep
Blair
going.
Packer.
Yeah, we're enjoying that.
Martha, before I play a new song. Oh, yeah, quick. Sorry. CBAB wants me to... Do you remember making the video about the Queen and Spadina? It's Queen and Spadina with Martha Johnson for CBC in 1984.
Yeah, I do. And I actually watched it in sometime at a time in the last year.
It's on YouTube.
Came across it. And yeah, I was surprised at how well I did it.
Good job. Okay, that's called Toronto Neighborhoods, I think. So people can find that on YouTube. Queen and Spadina with Martha Johnson from 1984.
Yeah.
There you go.
Back to 84. Martha, may I ask about how you're doing? Because you have Parkinson's disease. What, you look great.
Thank you.
How are things going?
Well, it's an up and down kind of disease, and it's a progressive degenerative disease as well. And you don't know whether you notice my head going back and forth. I have this. I don't have a tremor, but I have the drugs that I take cause a condition called dyskinesia. So I'm trying to stay on the mic.
Oh no! Listen, please.
You should got an omnidirectional.
You're doing fantastic.
If anybody hears a kind of waver in the volume of my voice,
and if you didn't tell me, I would just think you're hearing the jams in your headphones.
Yeah, it's all hip movement. But I'm doing okay. I was diagnosed in 2000, so 21 years later. I'm doing pretty well for that.
And you did, in 2013, you did record an album for the Michael J. Fox Foundation.
Okay, let's.
Is that true? Oh, no, you were here to set the record straight because that's lying out there.
I think it was a GoFundMe kind of thing.
Okay.
And we've done some of the profit went to
Solo One, right? In some portion.
That's
yeah.
right.
Okay, now we know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solo one. Yeah, that was my solo album, which I think had really good songs on it. And I wrote 3 songs with Ron Sexsmith.
Love
for
Ron
that
Sexsmith.
album.
Love that guy.
Yeah, he's a good songwriter, that's for sure.
He's another guy. He had to leave the city. He's in Stratford now.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
Wow, shout out to FOTM Ron Sexsmith. By the way, I should let you know, you can set records straight here. So if there's been something sitting on the Wikipedia page that's simply not true, this is the show to clarify it, because there is a Wikipedia editor named Rosie Gray Teo. And Rosie Gray Teo will actually listen to this program, capture these facts, and then we'll add them to the Wikipedia page and correct things and cite this as the source. So this is really if there's, I think I had a woman on the show last summer who on her Wikipedia page it said she was in Friends. She did a guest appearance on Friends. And her name's Christine Simpson. She's with Sportsnet covering hockey. But she's never been on Friends. And forever this just sat on the Wiki page. So everybody's like, oh, I didn't know you were on Friends. I didn't know you were on Friends. It's on your Wikipedia page. And she would use this opportunity to set the record straight.
She should leave it on.
Yeah, that's nothing to be ashamed of. Just, I was on Friends. That's how I roll. Okay, I want to play a song from Marthology in and Outtakes. But YYZ Gord wants me to ask you, what is your favorite song in your catalog to play?
Oh, geez.
Good question.
That's
YYZ
40
Gord.
years long.
If you could only bring one with you.
I know what I would say.
Okay, let's hear it.
I would say Love Began with Eve, which is a song that Mark sings. And I have the title was a title I came up with. Our daughter's name is Eve.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a beautiful song.
Okay, so you mentioned that one, so I can't say that one.
You need a unique one, yeah.
I don't know. That's like when you're asked your top 10 favorite songs of all time.
You know what, though? I want to say this. I know there was a miscommunication somewhere along the line where you were going to come here and do that, because people do that on their second visit. So the first visit, we do what we're just doing now. We kind of cover the whole career, and we're going to talk about the new, the Marthology in and Outtakes. But at some point, when enough time passes that you're missing me and you want more lasagna or whatever, Kicking Out the Jams is great fun.
We got the list already, so we can do that. Okay, so I'm on the spot now. I have to grab a song because we don't want any dead air while I go.
Because I'm not going to edit a stitch of this.
No, I know.
Even though I tried to mute you earlier in the show. But,
yes.
One of your more avant-garde songs.
Well, which one of those, though?
Crosswalk?
Oh, my God. Okay, I'll say Crosswalk because it's...
There's no wrong answers, Mark.
Yeah, okay.
You don't
Crosswalk,
fail.
please?
You fail.
Yeah, just say Crosswalk.
Tell me about Marthology in and Outtakes.
It was our manager, Graham Stairs, who runs Pop Guru, who suggested that we might want to look at some of our past songs that didn't make it to an album or were demos. We have a lot of stuff that has never been heard or is a limited exposure. So he suggested it. So we went into our archives and put the album together.
Amazing. Now I have a song here. Save It for Later. Is that it?
Okay, that's not on Marthology.
Right.
That is
because
that's on Coverama.
Okay.
Which is an album that was just released last week, I believe, and it's that Pop Guru put out.
Okay, well let me listen. Since that just came out last week, here let me play a bit. Is that okay if I play a little?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
and then we'll get back to so many things to discuss here happening in 2022.
Dirty lovers must be a sucker for it. Cry, cry, but I don't need my mother. Just hold my hand while I come to a decision on it. Sooner or later, your legs get big, you hit the ground. Save it for later. Don't run away and let me down. Sooner or later, you'll hit the deck, you'll get found out. Save it for later. Don't run away and let me down. Don't let me down. Black hair and 70s on rotten.
Okay, so now I'm all sorted here. So remind us again, which project is this from?
Coverama.
Coverama.
And it was, again, with our manager, Graham Stairs, who we did this song for a trailer that for Sex Education, the British TV show.
Oh, it's with Gillian
Series?
Anderson?
Yeah.
So we
Very
were
good. It's very
good. Asked to do a pitch, and
they wanted this song that was the English beat
Right.
song.
Yeah, here it's the English beat. Okay,
Yeah.
over there is the beat.
that's the beat or the English beat, and they said we want somebody to do a new cover of it.
So we took it on. We did it in 3 days over a weekend, and it turned out really well, and we were happy with it. And we didn't get the gig.
Well, the music supervisor apparently loved it, but the producers of the show decided not to use any version of the song at all, so it never got used. And we were going, well, so we did this, and we went to Graham and said, well, why don't you get all the people on your label to do a cover, and then we can at least use it for something. So he just has released
It sounds great.
yeah, we were happy with it.
And some of the other songs are like
There's Blondie covers and
When Doves Cry.
When Doves Cry.
Prince.
And
It's quite an interesting.
Prince did what you did, changed his name.
yes.
Yeah.
When he wrote Slave on his cheek, everybody in the business who was an artist knew exactly what he was talking about.
Wow. Okay, so what I'm going to roll into, and I'm going to YouTube for this because as prepared as I was, I didn't have the right song loaded up.
time away. I pass the time away. I spend my time at work, but I'll go back someday to watch the sun go down. It's a habit of mine to watch the sun go down. It's a habit.
On a silent summer evening, Echo Beach version.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good in the headphones.
No, I'm telling you, it's trippy. Like don't even want to bring it down, to be quite honest. So this is this project. This release is Marthology In and Outtakes, and this is available now.
Yes.
Yes.
If you were king and queen for a day, and you are actually, because you're on Toronto Mike making your debut, how would you like people? Like, where would you like people to go if they want to buy and consume this new material?
I think the best site is actually YouTube, because there's probably like 40 or 50 videos that have links to where you can buy stuff. And our official website has been swimming around lifeless for a few years, and I keep going, oh God, I really got to get this back together. So the YouTube site's good. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and sooner or later we'll get our official site back happening. I'm not making any promises, but it's on the list. So that's what I would say. Go to YouTube.
Yeah, and by the way, go ahead.
We still have tons of CDs in our basement.
Yeah, if you want CDs, like
can they reach out to you? So if somebody right now wants to reach out to you directly and buy direct from the artist.
Okay, so we have you can get us at the best email is Muffin Music, all one word, at simpatico.ca.
Oh, that's a throwback. I like that.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
it's really old, like we are.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to know your audience.
Yeah.
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 Muffin Music at simpatico.ca. Wow, I thoroughly enjoyed this. So, Martha, Mark, thanks so much for visiting. Is there anything you wanted to share before I play a little Lowest of the Low and then say goodbye to the listeners?
Just thank you, Mike. It was a great conversation. And
I wanted to add that everybody who was in the band, who were players in the band and contributed, and they made up our careers. Everybody contributed in their own way, and they're to be recognized as well.
Yeah, shout out to all those people for sure.
Yeah. And then look at me fading out of Martha and the Muffins into Lowest of the Low. That is as Toronto as it gets, I think. Right
I love
there.
crossfades.
So do I. And that's why I like to do them live. I do it live. Oh my goodness, what a pleasure. Thank you for the t-shirt. Before you drive away, we are going to take a photo by the tree, and I got my t-shirt. That's awesome. And I got your lasagna in the freezer before you go. But thanks again for being my guest today.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
And that brings us to the end of our 1055th show. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Toronto Mike. You guys mentioned go to YouTube and find Martha and the Muffins, but are you on Twitter or Instagram, or is there any?
Yes, all those two. And Facebook as well.
Okay, so follow these good people, Martha and the Muffins. Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery are at Great Lakes Beer. Palma Pasta's at Palma Pasta. Sticker U is at Sticker U. Doer are at Doer Performance, DUER. Ridley Funeral Home, they're at Ridley FH. And Canna Cabana, they're at Canna_. And just a reminder, on May 31st, Andy from Canna Cabana is joining Stu Stone, and there might be special visits from Canada Kev and Kareem, and we're going to kick out some stoner jams at 8 p.m. that night, live on the same channels, and it's going to be awesome. See you all tomorrow, and my special guest is Danny Gallagher, and we're going to dive deep into the history of the Montreal Expos.